Alright, I'm on a hike. I've been on the go for about 2 hours. For the first 90 minutes I had company. There's another guy out hiking. And I tell you, the time went very fast. We were chatting away. And then I said to him, I'm going to take the yellow track. And he was going to take the red one. So we diverged. And he told me beforehand that he had a whistle with him. Just in case there were any bears about. And about 5 minutes after we separated, I could hear the whistle. Yeah, there was a stray dog with us as well for about an hour. It was a grey dog, looked like a wolf. And that was cool. Right, I'm just going to go through some thoughts from the last few days. It'll be a rambling video. I'd start off by saying, yeah, the news came out that, as everyone knows, an African killed 3 girls and several of them are in intensive care. That was the catalyst for all the disorder. I do find it odd that none of the parents has come out with, I don't know, some sort of message or some video. I haven't seen anything, so I do find that strange when you have so many parents involved and yet we're not hearing anything, nothing. Anyway, yeah, it's a terrifying picture. A group of young girls at some dance club, and this big, tall African comes in with a knife and starts slashing left, right, and centre. And the Prime Minister comes out, and he doesn't say we need to protect our children, we need to protect schools. He says we need to protect the mosques. And you start wondering, what has the mosque got to do with this? And then we see all the footage, the riots. We see groups of men going around singling people out based on their skin colour, I guess. And I was thinking of, because there are videos of the Pakistani community stopping cars, letting certain cars pass, not letting others pass, breaking the windows of cars. And I was trying to think of a situation where you'd have a shitlib, white shitlib, always preaching the mantra of tolerance and multiculturalism. And suddenly they're in the cauldron. Suddenly, all the wonderful ideas they have in their heads mean naught. All that matters is their skin colour. And it's a matter of life and death based on their skin colour. They're being singled out by those that they were always preaching about, saying, we're wonderful assets to our societies because they brought diversity. Diversity. And we had to be tolerant. So you're going to have a lot of conversions. You're going to have a lot of conversions in the next number of days and weeks and months. This, last I saw, it seemed to have calmed down on social media. I'm not in England, but last I saw, there was less coming out, less videos. And I guess this is the start of the civil war that many of us have been discussing for 5 or 6 years on social media. Multiculturalism doesn't work. And it especially doesn't work when there's a downturn, an economic downturn, when you have less assets to go about to be shared among the populace. This idea of Keir Starmer, people saying, "Oh my God, he's so stupid. He's just making things worse." Well, it seems that's his job. He's getting paid to pour petrol on the fire, and this two-tier system, police system, whatever. A lot of people, a lot of white people, especially from the affluent neighbourhoods, would have thought that's just a fiction, and now slowly but surely they're going to live the reality of receiving harsher penalties based on the colour of their skin. It's eventually going to get to their door. The working class has been putting up with this for decades, and slowly but surely it's going to stretch out, which means even more conversions. Those silly Don Quixote ideas are going to dissolve when these people find themselves in the cauldron and find themselves being assaulted due to the colour of their skin. In the 6 counties in Ireland, I sent out a few tweets about this. You had both Irish nationalists and the progressives speaking out against loyalists and nationalists walking down the streets together, waving their respective flags. It's very disappointing that people are upset about this. They're not seeing the bigger picture. They're stuck in this, parish system. Looking back, yes, we know our history. Yes, the two communities were on opposite sides of the fence, but now, with globalism, the two communities are under threat. And they're coming to the realization that they have more in common with each other than they do with what's coming in. It doesn't mean we forget our history, but at the same time, self-preservation must trump everything else. Self-preservation. Also, it's difficult to be singled out in that case, compared to being singled out by Pakistanis or blacks. It's more difficult to be singled out when you look the same as your enemy. But when you look different, when you have a different skin colour, you're easy prey. Now, another thing is, the idea is, and this shouldn't be lost sight of, Western countries are no longer safe for children, particularly for white children. And you have to draw your line in the sand somewhere, and I think some people are drawing it here. If our children aren't safe, then why bother trying to preserve the system? Something has gone horribly wrong in the system. And I no longer want to support it. That's what people are going to start considering. If you can't protect the children, if you can't protect the future, then why bother? Right, there are a few more points I want to make. I haven't any notes written down, but I think I've remembered most of what I wanted to say. There was a video that surfaced of a pub in Birmingham, and allegedly the pub was under attack by the Muslim community. The pub had locked down, and what I heard was the customers were inside, and there was a guy outside who well, he looked a bit drunk in the video. He was on his own and he was facing off with a few hundred Muslims. And you're watching this and you're thinking, oh God, he's going to get such a beating. They might even kill him. You know, he's on his own and he's mouthing off to them. And one of the Muslims comes up to him and floors him with a punch, which is pretty easy when the guy is staggering about and his reactions are slow. That's something else, I want to say, the optics, the drinking culture and all that, you know, we've all been part of it. Some of us are still part of it, whatever, but it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And I think the symbolism of that video was very, very strong. You have a European man who's alone. He's alone. He hasn't connected with a tribe. He's on his own. He's an individual. He's an individual. A solitary soul. On a night out in Birmingham, he's on his own. Billy no mates, and he's up against an army. He's up against a unified group of people. The Muslims don't look to be intoxicated. They don't look drunk. He's drunk. His coordination is all over the place. And I think it's a sign we should all spend some time pondering on, because in the future you're going to have to form groups. The larger, the better. And the drinking and the footy are going to have to take a back seat. They're going to have to take a back seat. They say that, you know, this is going to be for the next number of decades. It's going to flare up, then it's going to be quiet. It's going to flare up, it's going to be quiet. All the while, more boats are coming in with third world immigrants. And as bad as that is, then you've got the government against you. You've got the police against you. I wouldn't even say you're a second class or third class citizen in your country. I would say you're considered to be an invader. And you can say, but I go back, you know, my lineage goes back to this country thousands of years. It doesn't matter in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the Zionists, in the eyes of the globalists. You're now the invader. You're what they want to expel, what they want to get rid of for good. And you would ask yourself, how did it come to this? Well, easily, you let it happen as well. You have to point the finger at yourself. I keep getting tweets from that Tommy Robinson guy, Tommy Rabenstein. Don't follow him, but he keeps appearing on Twitter in my feed. And you wonder, you do get the sense that someone's shaking that jar of ants, because he's known as a rabble rouser. He's known as a Zionist. He's known to be a person who embraces multiculturalism. His only problem is he's not very fond of Islam. But apart from that, he loves diversity. He loves the Kalergi plan. So you've got him on Twitter, but you don't have other, well, I would say you don't have true nationalists on Twitter. You don't have some of the big names on Twitter. They couldn't get reinstated, but Tommy Rabenstein is on it. Yeah, that's it. I've said my piece, and I'll continue going down this path here. But before I do so, There's a very nice view here of the mountain, the nearest mountain.